Welcome into Glens Falls, everybody. I'm Evan Simbita here on the Boonville Radio Network here for the matchup between the Boonville Lumberjacks and the Glens Falls Dragons. First batter for the game for the Lumberjacks is Zeb Swangham, down 1-0. Next pitch is in there for a strike. Count moves to 1-1. Glens Falls comes into this game 4-7 with a win last night against Utica on the road. That was an absolute barn burner. 12-11 the final as the 1-1 is swung on by Swangham. Hit into center field, ranging back on it and making the catch is Pane Pinto. And there's one out in the inning. That brings up the designated hitter Wyatt Lassiter. But back to that game last night, absolutely unbelievable stuff. Utica took a 3-run lead in the bottom of the third. Glens Falls evened it up top of the fourth. Ultimately, Utica would score one more to take the lead, but then a grand slam by David York gave the Dragons a 3-run lead in the top of the fifth inning. Then it was Utica's turn for a big strike with a 4-run bottom of the fifth to take an 8-7 lead. Things remained quiet there until the bottom of the seventh, where a 2 RBI triple from Utica left fielder R.J. Tomei gave Utica a 3-run lead, which quickly became 4 for Utica, which remained the score until the top of the ninth inning. Glens Falls loaded the bases in that inning before Utica walked in a run to cut the Dragon deficit to 3 before left fielder Caden Barner had a bases-clearing double to tie the game up at 11. Glens Falls used small ball tactics with 2 groundouts to get Barmer home to take the lead before shutting the door in the ninth, which marked the first time all seasons the Dragons have had multiple wins in a row. As Lassiter grounds this one to third, that's the second out of the inning as Kerr throws it over to Wirt. So quite a bit of a long game last night, ultimately ones that the Dragons needed. If they lost that one, they would be fighting with the Lumberjacks for last place in this game, but now they're safe with a 2-game advantage. 2 quick outs brings up the center fielder Marcus Smith, his first start in center field so far today. It's been Will Hill at that position at every other game so far this season as the first pitch, breaking ball down low, 1-0 the count. The pitcher tonight for the Dragons is Colin Richardson, the right-hander. 1-0 pitch is swung on and missed from Smith out in front of that one. 1-1 is the count. Richardson's out of Adelphi, the Division II school. Only one start so far this year. That was against Utica on May 31st. 5 innings pitched for 2 earned runs. Ultimately was given the loss as Smith out in front of that one as well. 1-2 the count. As a sophomore at Adelphi, had 16 appearances for just under 26 innings pitched with a 4.91 ERA. Only allowed 2 long balls in all of those innings at the Division II level. Here's the 1-2, and that one in there for a called third strike. Fastball hits the top of the zone, and the Lumberjacks go down 1-2-3 in the top of the first. It'll be the pitcher for the Lumberjacks on the other side of the break. The starter, Garrett Albright, will have that and more right here on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. Bottom of the first looms here in Boonville. Starting lineup for the Lumberjacks today was Zeb Swangham, Wyatt Lassiter, Marcus Smith, Bronx Lewis, Masai Marshall, Ian Farber, Elijah Negron, Davon Abaga, Noah Reed, and Seth Bischoff. The Lumberjacks batting all 10 so far today with Garrett Albright as the starting pitcher. On the Dragons side, it's Giorgio Panepinto, Rene Vega III, Caden Barmer, Tyler Worth, David York, Alex Kerr, Hunter Falesk, and Tyler McCopsey, and Billy Bethel and Jack Ploppert round out the 10-man lineup as well for the Dragons. First man up tonight is Pat Pinto, the center fielder. Pat Pinto last night in that Utica game had 1 hit for an RBI as well as a walk and a hit by pitch. Leads the team in at-bats so far this year with 35 as Albright awaits delivering the first pitch. Here it comes. Breaking ball in the dirt, 1-0 the count. Albright so far this year has only had 1 start in 2 appearances. That was against Mohawk Valley on June 7th. Albright ultimately took the loss in that one. Here's the 1-0 pitch. One outside, fastball missed, 2-0 the count. Albright went 3.1 innings for 8 hits, 6 walks, 10 runs, only 5 of those earned with 3 strikeouts as well. Defense didn't hold him up well in that one. As the 2-0 pitch is also down low, count quickly moves to 3-0. And this has been an issue for the Lumberjacks this year. Throwing strikes has been their Achilles heel. Walking in batters, especially early on in games, has really knocked them out of being competitive. Here's the 3-0. And that one down low as well. So a 4-pitch walk to start off the game. Panepinto is on. That brings up the second baseman, Rene Vega. Vega, one of the smaller players on this team, a switch hitter, this time standing in on the left side. 5'7" from the second baseman out of Post University. Here's the first offering. That one finally in there for a strike. Fastball was in there as Vega was taking all the way. 0-1 the count. Here's the 0-1. And that breaking ball just tops the zone. 1-1 the count. Vega leads the team in OBP so far this season with a .607 on-base percentage with 10 walks. He also leads in that category. Here's the 1-1 as the runner goes from first. Panepinto got a good jump, and he is in there. Tag was not in time from the shortstop, Negron. Throw was a decent one by Bischoff, but skipped in the dirt and just did not have the velocity to get Panepinto out. So an early stolen base from him means a runner in scoring position with no outs here in the bottom of the first inning. 1-1 count on the second baseman, Vega. Here's the pitch from Albright. Swung on and hit down the third base line, but this one's going to get out of play. Count moves to 2-2. Vega's a hitter that started out the season struggling. His first 4 games that he played, he was hitless, but since then has had a hit in every single game. His 4-game hit streak is still active coming into this one. Count's all even on this one, 2-2. Albright readies, but time is called by the second baseman. Steps out to collect himself. Fair skies here in Glens Falls. It looked like it was going to rain a little bit earlier with some gray clouds overhead, but those have started to move a little bit as the sun shines in from the first base side. Albright not looking in it. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and hit into left field. That one's going to get down for a single, and Panepinto's being waved home. Vega's going to second as well. The catcher, Bischoff, gets the throw out from in front of the plate and throws over to second base, but that one not in time. A stand-up double for Rene Vega. And the Dragons quickly lead this one 1-0. Albright still has not gotten an out in this game, as that brings up the left fielder, Caden Barmer. And we saw quickly already how that stolen base changed things. Panapinto went from second to home, and that allowed Vega to just sneak by this Boonville defense and get to second on a ball that really should have only been a single. First offering is a breaking ball from Albright that was way up high, 1-0 the count. Barmer out of Goldie Beacon, the Division II baseball school. Was part of the CAAC All-Tournament team as a freshman last season. As he swings and hits this 1-0 way back and out of play over the Boonville dugout. 1-1 the count. Barmer out of Edgewood, Maryland. Not too close to home like a lot of the players here in the PGCBL. Here's the 1-1 from Albright. Swung on and hit high down the third base line. Ranging back on it is the third baseman, Swangam, called off by Negron, who drops it. And that one escaped the glove of Negron right down the third base line. That one was in shallow left field, and ultimately Negron couldn't make the catch in the sun, so runners on first and second. Albright still searching for his first out in this game, and that brings up the first baseman, Tyler Worth. 2 hits and a walk, 1 run already surrendered by Albright, the Georgia native. Here's the first offering on the righty, Worth. In there for a called strike, just clipped the top of the zone. So the count is 0-1. Here's the 0-1. And that one way outside. Bischoff had to slide on his knees to grab that one. 1-1 the count. Tyler Worth has primarily played first base so far this year. Hasn't ranged too far out of it. As the 1-1 is not in there. 2-1 the count now. Only other player for this Glens Falls team to play first has been David York. He's in the lineup tonight, but as the extra hitter. Here's the 2-1 from Albright. Swung on and hit in between the first and second gap, and that's going to plate another run. Vega's being waved home, but pulls up on it. Vega didn't like what he saw coming down the third base line as Barmer advances to second. And it's a single for Tyler Worth that juices up the bases, the third hit allowed of the day from Albright. And he's already got to work his way out of a jam. No surprise there from Worth. He's the leader in hits on this team so far this year. As that brings up the extra hitter, David York, who had a monster game last night. First pitch on him is just outside. Already the third hit of the day allowed by Albright. Not a great start from him as he readies and fires the 1-0. Swung on and hit right back to the pitcher. He underhanded to the catcher Bischoff for 1, and the throw over to first. They'll say the first baseman Farber was off the bag. So ultimately they save a run from scoring. Bischoff steps on home to get 1 out, but they could not double them up. Still 1-0 Glens Falls here in the bottom of the first. That brings up the third baseman, Alex Kerr. Kerr played in that game last night as well against Utica as he awaits the first pitch from the right side. Here it is, outside for a called ball. Kerr only technically had 1 at-bat. He was used as a pinch hitter in that one. Ended up getting 1 hit and scoring a run. Here's the 1-0. Swung on and hit to Abaga, the second baseman. Throw over to second is in time for 1. Back to first is in there for a double play. And Albright navigates his way out of the jam with 2 clutch plays including one of his own at home, and they keep the damage at 1. Glens Falls leaves the bases loaded here in the bottom of the first inning, and it's the Lumberjacks on the other side of the break. We'll be right back here on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. Back here in Glens Falls, Boonville still in punching distance, only a 1-run lead for the Dragons, and that brings up the right fielder, Bronx Lewis. Lewis stands in from the left side, awaits the first pitch. Here it is in the dirt. Breaking ball missed, 1-0 the count. Lewis, the oldest player in this lineup by quite some time, over a year. He's just finished up his senior year at Concordia University. As the 1-0 is outside as well, count moves to 2-0. Talked to him pre-game. He told me that he's hoping to go move on to some pro ball. Just put up some numbers here. Maybe go try out for some independent ball teams and see where he can go from there. But ultimately the oldest man in this Lumberjack lineup as he pops this one up on the third base side, but that escapes out of play just barely. Third baseman Kerr cannot get to it, so the count moves to 2-1. Lewis has had a couple off days in a row. His last game played was against Amsterdam on June 12th, where he had 3 at-bats, no hits, no walks, just a strikeout on the box score for him. He still hasn't reached base so far this season in just 2 games. Here's the 2-1. And the breaking ball just misses the zone. A little bit inside as the catcher throws the ball into center field. Count moves to 3-1. Lewis at Concordia University in the last collegiate NAIA season had a .342 average with nearly a .500 OBP, 63 hits, with 17 of them being for extra bases. As here's the 3-1, that one down low in the dirt, and Lewis has reached base for the first time this year with a walk. That brings up the extra hitter, Masai Marshall. So after going down 1-2-3, the Lumberjacks finally have something going. Now it's the sophomore out of Northwestern University at the plate. Marshall is transferring, however, didn't get a lot of run in his first 2 years at Northwestern. No ABs as a freshman, just 2 as a sophomore. First offering on him, he takes the breaking ball, hits the outside part of the zone for a strike, 0-1 the count. Marshall is no stranger to collegiate baseball, played with the Vermont Lake Monsters last summer over in the FCBL. As the pick back is not in time from the pitcher Richardson, Lewis dives back in there head first. Marshall's only played one game so far for the Lumberjacks as he takes the 1-0 in there. Count moves to 0-2. Only appearance so far for him was 4 hits, 1 walk, and a strikeout. That was in the last matchup. Runner goes from first as Marshall chops this one foul back behind the plate. Count remains at 0-2. Marshall in with the Lake Monsters last summer had just a 186 average with 16 hits and 86 at-bats. Here's the 0-2. Swings and hits this one right to the third baseman. Kerr goes over to second, but the throw not in time. Second baseman Vega was off the bag, so an infield hit for Marshall brings up the first baseman Ian Farber with runners on first and second. Farber, also another guy that hasn't really played in quite some time. His last game was over a week ago, June 6th against Utica, as he stands in from the left side. One of the bigger players on this team, listed at 6'5", 210, out of Niagara County Community College. First offering is up high for a ball, 1-0 the count. Farber, despite not playing in quite a while, is tied for the team lead in walks with 4, but also leads the team in strikeouts with 7. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled right back behind the plate towards the fans. Hits the backstop and the count moves to 1-1. Farber has struck out in every game he's played so far this year. Had a 5-game strikeout streak to begin the year and then has not played since then. This is his first start since June 6th as the 1-1 is in the dirt. 2-1 the count. Farber, only a freshman though, hit just 200 in his freshman season at Niagara County. Here's the 2-1. Swung on and hit into center field. Ranging back on it is Pane Pinto, and he makes the catch. The runner from second tags. Lewis goes over to third. Marshall stays at first, and runners at the corner for the shortstop, Elijah Negron. That one hit pretty deep here at East Field, just deep enough for the runner Lewis to tag to third, so just 1 out. Runners on the corners for the hottest hitter in this lineup, Elijah Negron. He was the A-Town Bats Hitter of the Week last week, the first time that honor has been given out this year. 10 at-bats. He had 5 hits, including 3 home runs and a double for 7 RBIs. Added on 4 walks and only struck out twice. Here's the opening offering. Up high, 1-0 the count. Leads the team in walks this year with 6. Leads the team in RBI with 7 and home runs with 3. Started the season 0-10, but he's been on fire since then. As the 1-0 breaking ball almost hits him, ducks out of the way, and the count moves to 2-0. He's been completely unstoppable in this last week of play, with hits, RBIs, and extra base hits in all of his last 4 games. Here's the 2-0. That one, fastball in there for a strike. Negron still has not taken the bat off of his shoulder in this one. 2-1 the count on the Division I sophomore out of the University of Maryland East Shore. Pick back from the pitcher Richardson to first base for Marshall is not in time. Runners remain at the corners with just 1 out. He's been working counts these last couple weeks with just 2 Ks as he hits this one into left field. That one gets down for a single as Lewis scores. Marshall goes over to second, and it's another RBI single. His 5th game in a row with an RBI, and Elijah Negron ties the game up at 1. So that brings up the second baseman, Davon Abaga. The 5'8", 175-pound freshman out of Seattle, Washington, was going to go play Division I ball at Seattle University, but ultimately never got to play with the team. Now he's back here in Boonville looking for opportunities. Pick back to second is not in time. Marshall dives back in there head first. Last time Marshall hit was quite a while ago against Mohawk Valley a week ago. Had 3 at-bats, including a double, 1 RBI, and a walk. Still waiting on the first offering. And another pick back at Marshall. He's back in there. That one a lot closer. The second baseman, Vega, dancing back and forth, trying to get Marshall to commit to a steal, but hasn't been able to do so yet. Abaga still has not been pitched to. Vega goes right back to second, but the pitcher Richardson waits and finally delivers to Abaga. That breaking ball up high, 1-0 the count. Marshall evidently did not go on that one, but that won't stop Richardson from picking back again. Abaga's also pitched this year. He's been one of the emergency pitchers on this team as the 1-0 is down low, 2-0 the count. Last pitching appearance was against Utica. He only had a third of an inning pitched, where he had 3 earned runs, including 2 hits and a walk. That wasn't his best, and he hasn't been out of the pen since, as there's a meeting at the mound with the catcher and the pitcher. Fales talks things over with Richardson and goes back to behind the dish. All of Abaga's hits have been doubles so far this year. He's got 3 of them in 13 at-bats. Certainly not bad numbers. Here's the pitch. Outside. They say it clips the part of the outside zone on Abaga. 2-1 the count. .231 average with a .375 on-base percentage so far this year. 2-1 is also in there for a strike. Abaga looks back at the umpire in disagreement, but ultimately readies again. 2-2 the count. Still 1 out in this inning. Game all tied up at 1. Runners on first and second for the Lumberjacks. 2-2 is swung on and chopped to third. Throw over to first is in time by Kerr, but the runners both move. Marshall goes to third, Negron goes to second, and that brings up the left fielder Noah Reed. Reed hasn't played since the Amsterdam game on June 12th, where he had just 2 at-bats, including 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. First offering from Richardson is in there for a called strike. Breaking ball got him. Strikeouts have been the Achilles heel for Reed so far this year. He's struck out in every game that he's played in, mostly with multiple Ks, including a season-high 3 against Mohawk Valley on June 7th. Here's the 0-1, and that one in there as well, quickly down 0-2. Reed hasn't swung yet, but both of these pitches have been in the zone. Sophomore out of North Central Texas College. Here's the 0-2. Just misses outside. Reed had to squat down to read that one better, and the count moves to 1-2. The pitcher, Colin Richardson, trying to fight his way out of this one with just 1 surrendered run. Here's the 1-2. Swung on and hit down the first base line, but way foul. Count remains at 1-2. So far this year, Reed with a .167 average, just 2 hits, one of them being a double. Here's the 1-2 offering for the second time on Noah Reed. Swings and hits this one high down the first base line. This one going foul. The first baseman, Worth, is over there and makes the catch in foul territory. That one was practically in the Dragons' dugout, but made the catch. Boonville strands runners on third and second, but ultimately do plate one to tie up the game at 1. Garrett Albright will be back out on the mound on the other side of the break. We'll be right back on the Boonville Radio Network. Back here in the bottom of the second inning, it's 1-1. Boonville scored in the top of the second to tie that one up. First pitch from Albright is down and in there on the catcher. Hunter Fales out of St. John's Fisher College. Here's the 0-1. And that one just misses outside. 1-1 the count. Here's the 1-1 from Albright, and that one skips in the dirt to the backstop. 2-1 the count. Fales batting .200 in the PGCBL so far this year with 4 RBIs. Here's the 2-1, and just misses outside. Count moves to 3-1. .3-1 offering from Albright is in the dirt, and a walk there to Fales. He reaches base as the first batter in this inning. That brings up the shortstop, Hunter McKillop. McKillop serving as the shortstop here today. Team leader in RBIs so far this year with 8. As that first offering skips off the glove of Bischoff, he quickly collects it, and the count is 1-0. That pitch outside. McKillop batting from the right side. Albright readies and fires. That one just misses. Thought that hit the inside part of the plate, but the count moves to 2-0. Albright control wasn't the best in his first start this year, but he's been a lot better in this one. Did have the 4-pitch walk to lead off the game as the 2-0 is in there. Count moves to 2-1. Did have that 4-pitch walk to start off the game, but has been a lot better so far in this one. Here's the 2-1. And that one also in there, clips the outside part of the zone. McKillop shakes his head, but the count 2-2 regardless. McKillop off to a good start with a .938 OPS, 300 average so far in this PGCBL season as the 2-2 is outside, count runs full. The catcher Fales, still running back and forth over there at first. Trying to get Albright to look, but he's been very focused on the batter, McKillop. Here's the payoff pitch. Runner goes as this one chopped into right field. That one's going to get down for a single, but Lewis gets it in quickly. Despite the runner fails going from first, he just gets to second. McKillop with a single. There's still no outs in this one. That brings up the next man in this game, Billy Barthel. Already the fourth hit allowed in this one by Albright. And a defensive meeting with his catcher Bischoff, just trying to calm him down. Barthel, a two-way player. He leads this team in saves. He's tied for the lead with 1. First offering from Albright is fouled back behind the plate. Count moves to 0-1. At the dish so far this year, Barthel's batted just 115 with 1 RBI. Just 1 walk from him as well. Here's the 0-1 delivery from the pitcher Garrett Albright. That one in the dirt as well. Bischoff has to dive to collect it, but the runners do not advance. 1-1 the count. Barthel's been much better on the mound. 6 innings pitched for him with a 0 ERA, just a .33 whip. He's been very shut out on the other side of things. Just 1 strikeout and a win for him. Here's the 1-1. Swung on and hit to the third baseman. Swangam fights the sun and ultimately can't pick it up. It falls out of the glove at the last minute. And the bases are now loaded for the second inning in a row. And that brings up the last man in this order, the designated hitter, Jack Ploppert. That was ultimately a tough play to make there by Swangam, sun shining directly in his eyes, and just lost it on the transfer, but more trouble here for Albright as Ploppert stands in from the right side. Takes the first offering for a strike, 0-1 the count. Second one is in there as well. Count quickly moves to 0-2. Albright, not the biggest strikeout guy. Just 3 so far this season. As here's the 0-2 delivery. Swung on and missed. He got him with the off-speed. Ploppert was way out in front of that one, and one crucial out in this inning for Albright. That brings up the leadoff man, Panapinto, once again. First strikeout of the day for Albright. Brings up the center fielder. Panapinto walked in his first at-bat today. Ultimately came around to score. He's been the only run so far in this one. First delivery is in there for a called strike. 4 straight in the zone for Albright. Panapinto out of Iona University. Just a freshman. Here's the 0-1. Swing and a miss. That one behind the plate, but the umpire calls it foul. If that one was a wild pitch, that surely would have been a run for the Dragons, but Panapinto just got that one off the edge of the bat, and the count moves to 0-2. Albright 1 pitch away from his second strikeout in a row. Just 1 out. Bases are still loaded for Glens Falls. Here's the delivery. Just above the zone. Panapinto watched that one go. And the count moves to 1-2. In that game last night, Panapinto had a hit and an RBI, as well as a walk and a hit by pitch. Here's the 1-2. That one in the dirt. Bischoff has to move the glove to the hand side to pick that one up. Ultimately, it bounces out in front of him, gets to the grass in front of the pitcher's mound, and picked up by Albright. That one could have been danger as the count moves to 2-2. There have been a couple in the dirt so far in this inning, but Albright's got to be careful. Hunting that double play ball, just needs to get one on the ground with a very solid defense behind him. Here's the 2-2. Swung on and hit high, but back and out of play. That one reaches the parking lot here at East Field behind home plate, and the count remains at 1-2. Panapinto with just one extra base hit, a double this year. Came in his second game he played all the way back in May, but hasn't had one since then. Here's the 2-2. Just outside. Bischoff tried to frame it, but the umpire not being fooled by that one. The count runs full, and with the bases loaded, Albright's got to be careful here, lest he walks in another run. Panapinto opened the season on a 5-game hit streak, but has cooled down since then with just one hit. Here's the payoff pitch. Swung on and hit back and out of play yet again. Swangham was tracking that one down the third base line, but ultimately he couldn't get it. And the count remains full. Not great news for the Lumberjacks. That Glens Falls has already batted around here, and we're only in the bottom of the second inning. Just one out with the bases loaded. Here's the payoff pitch for the second time in a row. And that one in the dirt. And Albright disappointed at that one. He walks in a run. It's 2-1 Glens Falls. As Panapinto draws his second walk of the day, that brings up the second baseman, Rene Vega. Tried to fool him with the slider in the dirt, but just couldn't get him going. So Vega, the switch hitter, stands in left side for the second time today. Bases are still loaded here with just one out. 0-0 is in there for a strike. Count moves to 0-1. Albright with a little bit of a longer leash in this one. That's generally how it goes as the season goes on, as the 0-1 in there. Count moves to 0-2. And Albright trying to work the count here, just trying to get out of this inning without any more damage done. We know this Boonville lineup can put runs up, but ultimately it's been the pitching staff that has been a little bit behind the hitters as Vega calls time. Collects his thoughts from a Glens Falls perspective. Can't strike out right here. Here's the 0-2 pitch. And in there for a called third strike. Vega only got up to see 3 pitches, and all of them in the zone. Couldn't get the bat off the shoulder, and there's 2 outs in the inning. Bases still loaded for the left fielder, Caden Barmer. Second strikeout of the day for Albright. Barmer, his last time up, singled and was stranded at second base as part of the bases loaded bottom of the first inning as the first offering in there for a called strike. Albright's been dropping the off speed in there a lot today. It's been more off speeds than fastballs. Here's the 0-1. Swung on and hit down the first base line, but just foul. And the count moves to 0-2. Albright with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, but the 76-mile-an-hour curveball has been his favorite pitch so far today, also with an 84 slider and an 86 changeup. Barmer awaits the 0-2 from the left side. Here's the delivery. Just outside. Bischoff had to move the glove a little bit to get that one, not the spot that he wanted it, and the count moves to 1-2. Barmer leads this team in games played. He's played in all 11 contests for the Dragons so far this year. 1-2 is up high, and the count moves to 2-2. Barmer, a freshman, played at Goldie BCom in the Division II last year, had 41 games played as a freshman. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and fouled back behind the plate. That one gets out of play as people run after that one. Count remains 2-2. Ultimately made the CAAC all-tournament team as just a freshman. Lots of impressive baseball from him this year, and has been trying to back it up so far this year. Hasn't really done so in the PGCBL. Here's the 2-2. Swung on and fouled back and out of play yet again. This one escapes just past the fence here right behind me. And the count remains at 2-2. He's had just a 171 average so far this year. 6 hits, only one of them being an extra base hit. Just one double. 5 RBIs, 10 strikeouts as well. Hoping to not get punched out here. Here's the 2-2. Swings and fouls it back yet again. This one just goes to the backstop, doesn't make it out of play, and Barmer really trying to work Albright's arm here. About to be on pitch number 8 of this at-bat. Barmer has effectively drawn the walk 5 times so far this year, but a long way from doing that in this one. 2-2, swung foul yet again, 4th time in a row, this time down the first baseline. And Barmer just trying to defend the zone to not strike out. As Albright gets a new ball from his catcher, Bischoff. Still bases loaded here, 2 outs in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Glens falls on top 2-1. Albright trying to find his way out of the inning and leave the bases loaded for the 2nd time in a row. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and this time fouled off the catcher Bischoff, a 5th straight foul ball. They just keep coming. And they'll get ready to do it again, the 10th pitch of this at-bat. Barmer really staying alive and doing his job up there. 2-2 for the 6th time is swung on and fouled back and out of play. 7th foul ball in a row for Barmer, and only so many ways you can say foul ball. That one was lifted just into the stands here at East Field, down the 3rd base line. Here comes the 2-2 yet again from Albright. Swings and fouls it to the backstop. So 8 foul balls in a row here. Head coach Christian Griffin doesn't look too pleased, trying to get his pitcher out of there. The good thing for Albright, it's kind of taken the tension out of things. You almost forget the bases were loaded after so many pitches, but still the case with 2 outs and a 2-2 pitch. The Lurene B. Wallace Community College arm trying to find his way out of this one. Here's the pitch. And that one just misses. Thought that one was in there. And after so much delay, the count runs full here with the bases loaded. Still 2 outs in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Here's the payoff pitch as the runners go, and just outside. After all that, Albright walks in another run, and it's 3-1 Glens Falls. He just could not get anything going there against Barmer. So a 2nd straight walking in a run. Four walks already in this game for the Dragons as the first pitch is outside for ball 1. It's the first baseman Tyler Worth at the plate now, standing in from the right side. Here's the 1-0 from Albright. Checks his swing on that one, but holds up. 2-0 the count. Worth in his first plate appearance today singled, ultimately was stranded there in the bottom of the 1st inning. Albright struggling to hit the zone here, though. 2-0 the count. Here's the pitch. That one skips in the dirt, and the runner scores from 3rd. Every runner advances, and it's 4-1 Glens Falls. Albright still can't hit the zone. The count moves to 3-0. So 4 runs already, not what you want to see out of your starter, especially in a game where you need him to take you along, give you a lot of innings. But the count 3-0 already on Worth. Here's the pitch, and out, just catches the outside part of the zone. 3-1 the count. Interestingly, that one looked more outside than the one that wasn't called the strike on Barmer. Bit of a confusing strike zone today as the 3-1 is fouled back to the netting. Count runs full yet again. This time runners just on second and third. It's 4-1 Glens Falls here in the bottom of the second. It's been a 3-run bottom 2. They've been tacking on runs with the walk and the wild pitch. Here's the payoff. And down low yet again. So another walk for Albright. This one doesn't walk in a run, but might as well have, if not for that wild pitch and another meeting at the mound with Bischoff and Albright. So 5 walks already for Albright in just under 2 innings of work. He has not been able to get anything going so far in this one. That brings up the extra hitter, David York. York usually plays out of the first base slot, but getting the day off from fielding today. York leads the team in home runs this year. That's been where he's made his money with 2. As the first pitch is in there for a strike. York with 7 RBIs as well. Just a 137 average. Hasn't done much outside of the homers. As here's the 0-1 delivery. Outside for ball 1. York listed as a first baseman and an outfielder with a very tall batting stance. Here's the 1-1, swung on and hit down the third baseline. Foul yet again. York just 3 hits. Of course, 2 of them have gone over the fence. Just 2 walks as well. Here's the 1-2. Outside yet again. Count is even now, 2-2. York does have a .500 slugging percentage, though. Of course, with all the home runs. Here's the 2-2. And that one in there for a called third strike. The breaking ball was dropped in there. And the nightmare inning finally comes to an end for Garrett Albright, but not before he gives up 3 runs. It's 4-1 Glens Falls as we head to the top of the 3rd inning here on the Boonville Radio Network. Back here in Glens Falls, it's 4-1 Dragons here in the top of the third inning. It's the catcher Seth Bischoff out there for the Lumberjacks. The 10th hitter in this order is the leadoff man in this inning. Awaits the first offering, and that one in the dirt bounces behind the catcher, fails, and 1-0 the count. Richardson, the pitcher, allowing just 2 hits and 1 walk so far, as the 1-0 is in there. Almost hits him, and 2-0 the count. Here's the 2-0 on Bischoff. Inside yet again, count moves to 3-0. And Bischoff on the verge of getting on base. Lumberjacks had 1-2-3 in the first inning, but got the leadoff man on last inning, ultimately led to them scoring a run. 3-0 is in there for a called strike. Say it just hit the top of the zone. The 3-1 pitch is in there again. Count quickly has run full on the catcher Seth Bischoff. Bischoff hasn't played in a game since the Amsterdam one just 4 days ago, where he didn't get on base, and that one swings and hits this one into the gap. That's going to get down for a hit. Bischoff rounds first, but ultimately stays there. And a leadoff single there for Seth Bischoff. That brings up the top of the order, and it's the shortstop Zeb Swangham to get things going for the Lumberjacks. Third hit allowed of the day for Richardson, and that brings up Swangham, who flew out to center field in his first AB today. Swings and fouls the first offering back and out of play, 0-1 the count. Swangham in his last game had 2 at-bats, including 1 RBI that came off of a sacrifice fly and a grounded into a double play. Swangham out of UNC Asheville, the Division I school. North Carolina native from Fletcher. Just a freshman, hit 105 in 6 games played with Asheville last year. Takes that one, breaking ball in there for a called strike, and quickly down 0-2. He's been pretty hit or miss with the strikeout so far this year. Had 3 Ks in his last game against Amsterdam, but also had just 2 in his first 3 games, as well as none last game, as he fouls this one back and out of play. Count remains 0-2. Looking to stay alive on this one. Boonville can't squander opportunities, especially with Glens Falls scoring with ease. 4-1 the score here in the bottom or the top of the third inning. Runner on first, no outs, 0-2. Pick back from the pitcher Richardson is not in time. Bischoff goes diving head first. Another pick back. That one, there will be no tag from the first baseman Worth, not even close. Bischoff not known for his base stealing abilities, but Richardson not taking any chances. 0-2 is just outside. Breaking ball was almost dropped in there, and Richardson, disappointed at that one, takes the glove off and tries to reset. It's Wyatt Lassiter, the designated hitter, on deck, then Marcus Smith, the center fielder, in the hole. Here's the 1-2. Swung on and missed. He was way out in front of that one. Breaking ball got him swinging, and 1 out in the inning brings up Wyatt Lassiter. Just the second strikeout of the day for Colin Richardson. And it brings up Lassiter, who grounded out to third, his first plate appearance today. Pick back on Bischoff, not in time. Third one so far in this inning. Just 1 out, runner Bischoff still on first. First offering is in there for a called strike on Lassiter. Lassiter, one of many players out of the University of Mount Olive, the Division II school in the Conference of Carolinas. picked back again for the 4th time. Bischoff back in there safe. A little hesitation from the umpire on that call, but ultimately he got back in there. Lassiter with a .316 average so far this year. Watches that one just miss outside. 1-1 the count. In last game against Saugerties, Lassiter had 1 hit, 1 RBI, a walk, and a hit by pitch. Swings on the 1-1, chops it over to third. Kerr goes to second for 1, but the throw back to first for 2 is not in time, so Bischoff out on the fielder's choice. That brings up the center fielder, Marcus Smith.
Now batting number 3, the center fielder, Marcus Smith.
So Bischoff is out. That brings up the power hitter, Marcus Smith. Smith is just 1 hit in this PGCBL season. It's been a home run. First offering is taken for a strike. 0-1 the count. He's had 9 at-bats across 3 games so far this year, but of course just the 1 hit. He has drawn the walk 3 times, but has also struck out in 4. Breaking ball is dropped in there. He was way out in front of that one. 0-2 the count. Also hasn't had any RBIs since that homer on June 9th against Utica. Ultimately, Lumberjacks would go on to lose that game. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Runner goes from first. The throw is not in time. Lassiter steals second as that delivery outside. The count moves to 1-2. Lassiter, that was a close play down there at second, but ultimately a needed one. If the Lumberjacks are going to need to manufacture runs, the small ball is how they're going to do it. That's how they did it in the last one. Ultimately led to a 8-4 victory over the defending champion Saugerties Stallions. Runner goes from second. Lassiter's in there standing. No throw from the catcher fails as that one was in the dirt. Pitch was outside again. 2-2 the count. And the Dragons quickly went from 0-2 with a runner on first to 2-2 with a runner on third. Still 2 outs for Smith. Looking for his 2nd hit of the year. Here's the pitch. That one in the dirt, gets by the catcher, fails, popped up on the backstop, and Lassiter scores on the wild pitch. So Boonville manages to manufacture a run here in the top of the 3rd inning. They cut the deficit down to 2. It's 4-2. Dragons still on top. The bases are now empty, but it's a full count to Marcus Smith. So some crafty thinking there by head coach Christian Griffin. Ultimately puts another run on the board. Here's the payoff pitch. Swings and fouls it back to the netting. Count remains full. Smith out of the University of Memphis. A redshirt junior out of Harlem, New York. He's along with Bronx Lewis, who's up next. One of the oldest players, the 2nd oldest player in this lineup. Here's the 3-2. Swings and hits this one high down the first base line, ranging into foul territory, and it gets out of play. Worth was trying to track that one down, but ultimately couldn't, and Smith stays alive. Count still full, 2 outs, no runners on for the center fielder Marcus Smith. Richardson readies and fires. Swings and fouls this one towards the Boonville dugout. Ultimately hits the catcher Bischoff, who was already all in gear, so no harm, no foul. And a 2nd straight foul ball means the count stays full. Here's the full count pitch. Swung on and hit backhand out of play yet again. So Smith stays alive in an inning where Caden Barmer had 8 foul balls in a row. It's only 3 so far from Smith, but it's been making a difference. Trying to draw the walk and get something going for the Lumberjacks. Here's the payoff pitch. And outside, he draws the walk. He's on base for the 5th time this year. That's his 4th walk, and that brings up the right fielder, Bronx Lewis. Lewis, who walked in his first plate appearance so far today. Lewis, the oldest man in this lineup, the Unk, as they call him down there in the dugout. Runner goes from first, but ultimately goes back. Just a fake out from Marcus Smith, trying to get in Richardson's head after 2 stolen bases by Wyatt Lassiter already in this inning. That delivery outside, 1-0 the count. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled back and out of play. That one hits off of the stands just about 5 feet to my right. And the count moves to 1-1. As kids fight over the foul ball down there. Ultimately collected by what looks like a young Boy Scout over there. Here's the 1-1 on Lewis. Swings and hits this one down past the first baseman. That's a single. Smith is turning second and going to third. He's in there standing, and Bronx Lewis extends the inning with the single. There's runners on the corners for the extra hitter, Masai Marshall. So Marshall, who singled in his first plate appearance, has a great opportunity to tack on one more for the Lumberjacks. It's been a 2-out rally with a walk and a single from Marcus Smith and Bronx Lewis, who remain on base after the fielder's choice by Wyatt Lassiter. Check back on the runner is not in time. Lewis in there standing. That's Lewis's first hit of the game, of the season, excuse me. So first walk and first hit in the same game, as Marshall takes the first offering for a strike. 0-1 the count. Marshall at the Division I Big Ten school, Northwestern University, primarily used as a defensive substitution. Here's the 0-1. Swings and fouls it back behind the plate. Count moves to 0-2. So far, Marshall's only had 1 game played for the Lumberjacks this season. 200 average with just 1 hit in 5 plate appearances. Here's the 0-2. Runner goes from first as Marshall hits this one into the gap. The left and center fielder ranging in. Diving catch can't be made by the center fielder, Panepinto. 1 run scores. Lewis comes in, and Marshall is in there with a head-first triple. 2 RBIs on that one as the 2-out rally continues for the Lumberjacks. They've tied it up at 4. Marcus Smith scored from third. Bronx Lewis scored all the way from first. And the 2-out rally has provided a tie ball game here in the top of the 3rd inning. Boonville had 2 outs, a runner on first. That was Wyatt Lassiter, who stole 2 bases and scored on a wild pitch. Then a walk, a single, and a triple have led us here. Runner still on third is Marshall. 2 outs. That brings up the next batter, Ian Farber. Farber flew out to center in his first at-bat. Tallest man on this team at 6'5", takes the 1-0. That's in there for a strike. Count moves to 1-1. Farber's last game he played was June 6th against Utica. Had a hit, a walk, and a strikeout in that one. It's been a while since he stepped on the field. Here's the 1-1. Just inside. 2-1 the count. His last extra base hit was a homer on opening day. He's had just 1 hit since then. Has walked 3 times this season, however. Still can get on base. Swings and misses on the 2-1. Count moves to 2-2. And he's 1 pitch away from a strikeout. He did have a 5-game strikeout streak to begin the year, but hasn't had an AB or a start since then. Here's the 2-2. Down low for a ball. Count runs full. It's the home run hitter Elijah Negron on deck, then Dave Anabaga, the second baseman, in the hole if Farber can get on here. Full count, 2 outs. Runner on third is Marshall. Game all tied up here in the top of the third. Payoff pitch is checked on, but in the dirt. Farber draws the walk, just his 5th of the year. And that brings up Elijah Negron with runners on the corners, still 2 outs. So with 2 outs, the Lumberjacks stole 2 bases, scored on a wild pitch, had a walk, a single, a triple, and now another walk to keep them alive. It's Elijah Negron, who singled in his first plate appearance, who takes ball 1. 3 runs scored already in the top of the third. They're knocking on a 5th here. Negron swings and hits this one into right center field. Ranging in on it is Barthel, and he makes the catch to finally end the inning, but not before Boonville can plate 3 here in the top of the third to tie it up at 4. We'll be right back here on the other side of the break. Garrett Albright out there to pitch for the Lumberjacks. Be right back on the Boonville Radio Network. Back here in Glens Falls, it's Garrett Albright back out on the mound to face the bottom of this Dragons order. First pitch was outside for a ball. Here's the second. In there for a strike. 1-1 the count on the third baseman, Alex Kerr. Kerr grounded into a double play to end the bottom of the first inning as the 1-1 is in the dirt. 2-1 the count. Kerr, the team leader in batting average so far this year with a .500 batting average. He leads the PGCBL in that stat. Was a member of the stat leaders a week ago. 3-1 the count on Kerr. Here's the pitch. Swings and misses on that one. Count runs full. Breaking ball in the dirt got him fooled. So another full count here for Albright. He's been running up the count on his arm. Quite a lot of pitches being thrown as the payoff is down low. So he walks Alex Kerr. And that brings up the catcher, Hunter Fowles. 6 walks already in this game for Albright. He's still out there, though. These bats have been keeping him alive. Great performance by the offense. Usually they've been offset. When the pitching can't do well, the offense has been good. When the hitters can't hit, the pitching has been doing well. As the first pitch on Fell's in the dirt. But it's been pretty even here tonight. Still 4-4 in the bottom of the third inning. Hunter Fowl stands in. 200 average so far this PGCBL season. Here's the 1-0 offering from Albright. Taken for a strike. 1-1 the count. The runner Alex Kerr over there on first is dancing back and forth. They've been trying to get Albright's attention all night long, but he's been locked in at the man on at the plate. As this one swung and hit into the gap, ranging in on it is Smith, but he won't get there. Kerr goes to second, and Fowles goes to first. He's got a single, still no outs in this one, and that brings up the shortstop, Hunter McKillop. Fifth hit allowed so far today for Albright, but head coach Christian Griffin hasn't come out of the dugout yet. He's letting him figure it out on the mound. McKillop singled on his first plate appearance so far today. Ultimately would come home on a wild pitch. First offering is outside for ball one. 1-0 the count. McKillop, the team leader in RBIs. He's got a good opportunity here with runners on second and first. Here's the pitch from Albright in the dirt yet again. 2-0 the count. McKillop out of UMass Lowell, just a sophomore, but hometown here in New York at Blue Point. Here's the 2-0 delivery from Garrett Albright. And that one finally clips the bottom of the zone. 2-1 the count. McKillop with a 308 average so far this year. 8 RBIs and a 438 OBP. Not one you want to put on. Try to get outs where you can if you're Albright. None so far in this inning. He shows bunt, pulls back on it. Throw is into center field by the catcher Bischoff. And a pretty unnecessary, unforced error there. Runners started to go a little bit. Bischoff thought he could catch the runner Kerr over there at second off by throwing it to second base, but ultimately could not do so. Runners on second and third now. And McKillop looking to get his 9th and possibly 10th RBI on this one. Swings and hits this one into deep left field. Ranging back on it is Reed, and that one is just off the wall. Reed collects as 2 runs score. McKillop is in there standing at second, and a 2 RBI double to open up this one. Still no outs in the inning. And Albright giving up 6 already today. Head coach Christian Griffin pacing back and forth down there near the Boonville dugout, but remains there, does not go out to talk to his pitcher, and that brings up the right fielder, Billy Barthel. First offering from Albright is in the dirt. Bischoff had to block that one with the glove. 1-0 the count. Barthel with a 115 average so far this year. Reached on an error in his first plate appearance. Here's the 1-0. That one in the dirt as well. It gets by the catcher Bischoff, and the runner McKillop moves over to third. Another wild pitch by Garrett Albright. And another runner in scoring position with no outs here in the bottom of the third inning. it's just been gradual from the Dragons. 1 run in the bottom of the first, 3 in the second, and 2 here in the third, but they've been piling them on Albright. Here's the 2-0 delivery. That one in the dirt yet again. And 3-0 the count. Barthel's a guy that you have to get out, especially these bottom of the order hitters. Here's the 3-0. He shows bunt, but it's in there for a strike. He thought that was a walk. He started walking towards first, but gets back in the plate. Barthel, the 9-hole hitter. There's still one after him before the lineup flips over, however. 3-1. Swung on and hit to the second baseman, Abaga. He dives and gets it, looks the runner back to third, and throws over to first. Great defensive play there by Abaga, who had little reaction time on that one, and gets a crucial first out in this inning. That brings up the designated hitter, Jack Ploppert. Abaga had less reaction time than normal as the infield is in here, trying to prevent a run, as that first offering is outside for ball 1. Had to look the runner back, made sure he did his job, and Abaga has been one of the best fielders on this team so far this year. It's been solid as this one hit into shallow right field. Lewis can't get the catch, and that means another run scores. Jack Ploppert with an RBI single, and that extends the Dragons' lead to 3. It's 7-4 here in the bottom of the third inning.
Now, number 3, the center fielder, Giorgio.
So a 3-run advantage brings up the top of the order. It's the center fielder, Giorgio Panepinto. Boonville really have to get more outs here as Albright checks back on the runner. Ploppert, he dives back in head first. So just 1 out in the inning. Top of the order, Panepinto, who's walked twice as the umpire calls time. Panepinto scored in the first inning, but did not score in the second. Was part of the bases loaded that were stranded there in the bottom of the second, as this one fouled back by Panepinto. 0-1 the count. It's just been a really slow game so far here. We're over an hour, nearly an hour and a half past first pitch, and we're still in the bottom of the third inning. Neither team have been able to get outs as we have 11 combined runs through just under 3 innings. And still some work to do here for Albright. First pitch is outside. Bischoff had to stand up to grab that one, and 1-1 the count. Glens Falls have just taken what they've been given, really. 5 walks, 6 off that last one. As he checks his swing, that one down low in the dirt. 2-1 the count. Panepinto out of Iona University, the Division I school, and has been batting in the leadoff for quite some time here. That spot earned, though, not given to the freshman. Check back again by Albright. That one a little bit closer, but Ploppert dives back in there head first, safe yet again. Count remains 2-1 on Panepinto. Here's the delivery from Albright. And that one just up high. 3-1 the count now. Panepinto leads the team in ABs. Of course, that comes with batting out of the leadoff spot in 10 games so far this year. .229 average for him. 8 hits, but none of them 4 extras. Here's the pitch. Swings and hits it right to the shortstop, Negron, who could not field it. That one completely ate him up, and it's picked up in center field by Smith. He throws over to second. Throw not in time. Abaga tried to tag him out, but ultimately a double there for Panepinto. We'll see what they score that one. It's probably going to be an error against Negron. I'd imagine that one hit him in the glove, but just too fast for him to handle. It hit the dirt right in front of him, popped up, and that might be Albright's day. Head coach Christian Griffin coming out to take the ball from him, and that will end it. Call to the bullpen. We'll be back on the other side of the break. It'll be Lo Wen Xing for the Lumberjacks, trying to get runners out, with Albright leaving one on second and one on third. We'll be right back on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. Back here in Glens Falls, it's 7-4 the score. The Dragons on top in this one. Garrett Albright, his day is done. It's Lo Wen Xing out on the mound for the Lumberjacks.
I am. Oh, they better compensate you for this part. Yeah.
First delivery is in there for a strike. Xing quickly ahead of the batter. It's Rene Vega, the second baseman, who struck out looking in his last plate appearance, but doubled in the first. Here's the pitch from the Taiwanese relief pitcher. And just misses. 2-0 the count. Here's the pitch. Swung on and hit down the third base line, but foul. Backing out of play. 2-1 the count. Final line for Garrett Albright, the pitcher. Just 2 1/3 innings. 6 hits allowed, 6 walks allowed, and 7 earned runs. Just 3 strikeouts on the day from the big pitcher. Ultimately couldn't get it done. Not really what head coach Christian Griffin was hoping for, as this one fouled backing out of play yet again. 2-2 the count. Albright, the big righty, 3'3", 220 pounds. A lot of power out on that mound, but not a big strikeout guy, and ultimately just couldn't produce the right kinds of contact today. Vega stands in, looking to get on base for the second time today as he calls time to recollect. Vega taking this at-bat from the left side. Switch hitter, he can do it either way. Here's the 2-2. Swings and fouls that one off of himself. Count remains 2-2. Vega is out of Post University, the Division II Central Atlantic Collegiate Conference. Just a sophomore. Batting .313 so far this PGCBL season. Takes a long time to get back into the box. He's making Lo Wen-Shing wait for as long as he possibly can. Here's the delivery. Just misses the top of the zone. Bischoff knew that one was going to be up high and reacted to it, so the count runs full. 1 out, still runners on second and third. Boonville trying to navigate their way out of this one. Lots of offensive firepower with 11 runs scored in these first 2 innings, but Boonville trying to stop it right there. Here's the payoff pitch. Swung on and fouled back to the netting. Count remains full. On deck is the left fielder Caden Barmer, who fouled off 8 pitches during his last AB, and it's Tyler Worth, the first baseman in the hole. Vega asks for time yet again. Umpire gives it to him, and he's been waiting along for a lot of this at-bat. Here's the pitch, and that one in the dirt. Lo Wen-Shing pounds his glove in frustration as he loads the bases for the 3rd time in 3 innings. Lumberjacks have not been able to keep runners off the base paths, and it's the left fielder Caden Barmer up now. Second batter Shing will face here today is Barmer. So far he's singled and walked. Bats from the left side. Here's the pitch. That one up high. Bischoff has to get on his knees to catch that one. 1-0 the count. Barmer 5'11", 180. Certainly not a small guy, but looking at a lot of the hitters in this lineup, not one of the bigger ones. Here's the 1-0. That one in the dirt. Bischoff blocks it with his body, and count moves to 2-0. Mentioned earlier, it's been a really slow game. We're now officially an hour and a half past first pitch, and we're still in the bottom of the 3rd inning. This one absolutely dragging on, but it has been a thrilling game. 1 out, bases loaded. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and that one in the dirt yet again. Seems like no one on Boonville can hit the strike zone today. As 3-0 count now. Barmer only 6 walks so far this season and 35 at-bats. Tied for that lead with Giorgino Panepinto. Here's the 3-0 pitch from Shing. And way up high, that one hits the backstop, but it won't matter. Lo Wen-Shing walks a run in, and the score balloons 8-4. Dragons still on top. That brings up the first baseman, Tyler Worth. So that earned run goes on to Albright. That makes it 8 on the day for him. Runner on third is still one that he's responsible for as well. Here's the first pitch on Worth. Swings and fouls this one back and out of play. 0-1 the count. Worth, just like Barmer, has singled and walked so far today. Looking to just keep the line moving. Bases loaded for the Dragons. Just one out here in the bottom of the third inning. They've already plated 4. As that one down low in the dirt. 1-1 the count. It's something we've talked about quite a lot here on the Boonville Radio Network. Just so many walks from these pitchers. And that's really killed the Lumberjacks so far this year. That's been the one that's really been killing them. Here's the 1-1 delivery. In the dirt yet again. 2-1 the count.
Take care.
Wen Sheng has walked 8 batters so far this year. 10 if you include the 2 he's already walked today. As this one is swung into shallow center field. Ranging in on it is Smith, who makes a diving play, but a run tags from third. And they're going to say Smith didn't catch that one. Oh, they're saying he did catch it and the runner didn't tag. So an inning-ending double play for the Dragons on what could have been a 2 RBI single from Worth. The umpire had a late signal on that one, as the Glens Fall manager is not happy with that one. That's the end of the inning. Ultimately, only 4 runs on that one. They say Smith made the diving grab and the runner on third, that would have been Panapinto, didn't wait until that catch was made. He thought that was in the dirt. And an ending double play, so when Shane gets out of it, no earned runs on him. It's 8 on Garrett Albright. And the Lumberjacks still alive in this one, going to the plate in the top of the 4th. We'll be right back on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. Top of the 4th inning here in Glens Falls after a wild end to the 3rd, as Abaga takes this one down the 3rd base line. Ranging over to it is the left fielder Barmer, who makes the catch just next to the foul pole. That one could have been trouble. Davon Abaga takes that one deep, but ultimately it's 1 out, and it brings up the left fielder Noah Reed. That one could have been trouble. Abaga got a lot of that baseball, but not far enough. Reed takes the first pitch in there for a strike. He clearly disagrees with the call, shakes his head, but he's down 0-1. Second pitch is a swing and a miss. Reed was out in front of that one. 0-2 the count now. Reed so far today popped out to first base in foul territory. That would be the end of the bottom of the 2nd inning. Here's the 0-2. Swings and hits this one right up the middle. That one gets through for a single. The shortstop McKillop dove but couldn't get that one. And Noah Reed is in there with a single. Reed needed that one. That's just his third hit of the year. And that brings up the catcher, Seth Bischoff. Bischoff himself singled in his first plate appearance here today, looking for more with this one. Just one out, runner on first. Reed fakes going to second as Bischoff checks his swing. 0-1 the count. Bischoff out of Grand Rapids Community College as the runner goes from second. He is in there safe. Noah Reed, they thought he came off the bag, but he's in there with a stolen base. So Reed goes first to second on that one. The ball missed outside. 1-1 the count. The run still has not been changed back to 4-9 here on the scoreboard at East Field. Should be 4-8. As Bischoff awaits the 1-1 pitch. Check back on the runner. Reed is not in time. He's back in there standing. Nichols loses the ball. And Richardson collects it on the pitcher's mound. Bischoff didn't have a hit in his last game against Amsterdam. Looking for a second already today as he fouls this one back and out of play. 1-2 the count. He's had hits in 3 of 4 games so far, all of them as a catcher, but also with multiple strikeouts in 3 of his 4 games played so far this year. Looking to avoid one here, down 1-2 in this one. The pitcher Richardson looks back at Reed and fires at the plate. Bischoff swings this one to the shortstop. Throw is in time. Long throw by the shortstop McKillop gets Seth Bischoff. There's 2 outs in the inning. That brings up the shortstop Zeb Swingham. So it's on the leadoff man to get something going here in the top of the 4th inning. Swingham so far, he's flown out and struck out. Throw is not in time. Richardson tried to check back again on the runner Reed at second. This one required an acrobatic catch by the second baseman Vega. That one in there for a strike on Swingham. First offering is a fastball that just clipped the outside part of the zone. 0-1 the count. On deck is Wyatt Lassiter. Then it's the center fielder Marcus Smith. Richardson very concerned with the runner Reed over at second base. Ultimately turns his focus back to Swingham. Here's the pitch. Swung on and hit. That one will just escape out of play down the first baseline. Oh, 0-2 the count. Still 8-4 here in the top of the 4th inning. Boonville struggling for runs, but with a 2-out rally last inning, let's see what they can get going. Here's the 0-2. Richardson faked a pickoff attempt back to second base, but didn't throw it. Swingham in his last game had 2 at-bats, only 1 RBI. That came off a sacrifice fly and grounded into a double play. Looking to get something going with no hits as well in this one. Down 0-2. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled down the first base line. That escapes play yet again. Dragons do have 1 man warming up in the bullpen, so this could be the end of Richardson's day. Here's the 0-2 for the 3rd time in this plate appearance by Swingham. Checks his swing, and that one clipped the outside part of the zone. They say he went, and he goes down swinging. So no runs in the top of the fourth inning for the Lumberjacks. It's going to be Lo Wen-Shing back out there in the bottom of the fourth. We'll be right back on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. Lo Wen-Shing back out on the mound for the Lumberjacks here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Still 8-4, Glens Falls on top. It's the extra hitter David York, the first man to bat in this inning. Faces Lo Wen-Shing. Here's the first pitch. That one in there for a called strike. York so far this year batting just .167. We have 3 hits in 18 plate appearances. Here's the 0-1. Curveball just misses up top. 1-1 the count. Silver lining for York has been that 2 of those 3 hits have been homers. He's left the yard twice for a total of 7 RBIs as he awaits the 1-1. Checks his swing on that one. They say he did not go, and that one outside the zone. 2-1 the count now. York last night was a part of that comeback. 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th against Utica as this one chopped in between third and short. Swingham and Negron both tried to range into the middle of the field to get that one, but neither could make the play. So a leadoff single there from David York. That brings up the third baseman, Austin Kerr. First hit allowed of the day from Lo Wen-Shing. Kerr hasn't played too much in this one, just 4 games played, only 2 of them being starts as Shing checks back on the runner, not in time. He's got 8 at-bats so far this season with 4 hits for a .500 average. He's added a walk so far here today. First offering in there for a called strike. Fastball just clipped the outside part of the zone. 1-0 the count. Shing checks back on the runner once again, not in time for the second time in a row. Austin Kerr grounded into a double play his first time up today. Ultimately, that ended the bottom of the first inning. Would walk in the third. Here's the pitch from Shing. That one in the dirt, stopped by the catcher Bischoff, who stands up and surveys, but ultimately throws it back to his pitcher. The breaking ball for Shing has not been his best pitch so far today. Most of those have been in the dirt, way too low, and he just hasn't been able to locate them as well as he would hope. but a strong pitcher. Everyone in the Lumberjacks clubhouse knows that. Opening offering on Kerr is outside. 1-0 the count. Kerr, 4 of his hits, only 1 extra base hit. That was for a double. Swings and hits this one into right field. It gets down for a single. York stops at second. And it feels like deja vu. 2 first men on. 2 doubles to open up this top of the 5th inning. And that brings up the catcher, Hunter Fowles. Fowles has walked and singled so far here today, looking for more. Fowles has just 4 RBIs, but a great opportunity here for him to add to those numbers. First pitch is in there for a called strike. Wen Xing has been getting a lot of first pitch strikes so far here tonight, but ultimately just can't keep up on the back end of these ABs. A lot of these Glens Falls hitters are taking the opening pitch no matter what. Here's the 0-1. Swung on and hit in between the second and first gap. That one gets down for a hit. The runner York stops again at third, not the fastest man, and that leaves the bases loaded. That brings up the shortstop Tyler McKillop. So 3 singles to start off this inning loads up the bases, and stop me if you've heard that before. It's the 4th time in 4 innings that the Dragons have had the bases loaded. They've done it in every inning so far tonight. Boonville pitching has just not been able to keep them off the base paths. McKillop so far tonight has a single and a double. Halfway there to the cycle as that first one misses outside. Pete Crow Armstrong, the Cubs slugger, hit for the cycle last night. Just the 13th player in Cubs history to do so. Definitely the youngest as well. Here's the 1-0. Swing and a miss there from McKillop. Way out in front of that one. The off-speed got him, and the count moves to 1-1. Wen Xing hasn't gotten off to the strongest of starts this year. Everyone knows how good of a pitcher he is inside of this Boonville clubhouse, though. 6.35 ERA to start the year with a 2.12 whip, but everyone knows he's better than that. Here's the 1-1. In there for a called strike. 1-2 the count. And one thing head coach Christian Griffin said, especially early on in the season when they were losing every game, was that playing from behind is a hard thing to do on a nightly basis. And that's what they've been doing a lot. They played behind in every inning so far here tonight, hoping to limit the damage to just 4. As this one swung and fouled back and out of play, count remains at 1-2. Of course, things were much more dire to start the season, especially when this team didn't have a win, but with one over rivals Utica just over a week ago and one against Saugerties a couple days ago, the defending champs, this team is very confident that they can compete for postseason baseball. 1-2, 2 outs, bases loaded for the hitter. Here's the curveball that misses way up top. 2-2 on McKillop. PGCBL rules say that the top 4 teams in each division make the playoffs. Of course, last year Boonville made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Was above 500 for the first time in franchise history and looking to repeat, but not off to a stellar start so far this year. As the count 2-2 on McKillop. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him. Out in front of that one, the off-speed got him for the second time in that at-bat, and a much-needed K there from Wen Xing brings up the right fielder, Billy Barthel. His fielders yell at him in approval. Of course, Wenxing from Taiwan doesn't speak much English. I actually got to talk with him post-game after the Amsterdam game as Barthel stands in and awaits the first pitch. That one in there for a called strike, off speed in there. And I asked him, when people are yelling at you, do you understand or even pay attention to what they're saying? And he told me, no, I can't understand them. The funny thing is, a lot of people trash talk him as a relief pitcher, but he just doesn't really hear it, as the 0-1 pitch is just outside, 1-1 the count. Some would say that's a little bit of an added advantage for him, as despite the cheers from fans and the jeers from the opposing dugout, he just stays focused out there on the mound. 1-1 pitch is swung on and fouled back, 1-2 the count. But as I was saying, top 4 teams in each division make the PGCBL playoffs. Of course, right now the Lumberjacks are in the cellar. They're in 7th place, 2 games out of 6th, but a win here tonight and a win tomorrow at Utica could launch them into 5th place, being only 1 spot out from being in the playoffs, and from there they could hypothetically only be 1 game out of 4th. Lots of baseball left to be played for this club. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. He got him. That one in the dirt, and Wenxing with the curveball. That one absolutely filthy. 2 straight strikeouts as the Boonville dugout explodes, and 2 outs in a row. That brings up the 10th hitter in the order, Jack Plopper. Just 2 strikeouts for him on the day, but they've come when he needed them most. Wenxing trying his best to limit the damage despite 3 straight singles to open the inning. Here's the first pitch on Plopper. Curveball just misses outside, 1-0 the count. Ploppert so far today has struck out as well as singling in his last plate appearance. Wenxing, not the biggest strikeout pitcher. He only had 1 coming into this appearance, but he's already tripled his strikeout output as that ball misses way up high. 2-0 the count. Ploppert serving as the designated hitter so far today, usually roams in the outfield. But of course, PGCBL rules allow you to have 2 hitters not in the field in each lineup. And Glens falls fielding 10 here today. Here's the 2-0. Just misses that top corner, and Wenxing's got to be careful here. He's 1 ball away from walking in another run. He did that twice last inning, but has to avoid doing that here to keep this game close for the Boonville hitters. Here's the 3-0, and that one way outside. Wenxing couldn't locate that one and walks in a run. That takes it to 9-4, and also flips over the order. It's Giorgino Panapinto, a leadoff man and center fielder, back at the plate for the Dragons. So command issues continue to haunt Wenxing. He's been better in this inning, only allowing run. That would go down as the fewest that the Lumberjacks have allowed since the first inning in this one, if he can get out of the jam. Panapinto stands in and fouls this one back behind the plate. 0-1 the count. That one just misses the stands over there behind the Dragons dugout. Some screams and jeers as fans go over there to rush to the foul ball. 0-1 the count on Panapinto, who's walked twice and reached on an error by the shortstop Negron. 0-1 delivery. Swings and hits this one high into foul territory. Ranging over and making the catch is Ian Farber, far near the Dragons bullpen, but Boonville limit it to just 1 run. It's the fewest they've surrendered all night, and it gives the hitters a chance here in the bottom of the 5th inning. We've got that for you right here on the Boonville Radio Network right after this. Back here in Glens Falls, it's 9-4. The Dragons on top in this one. Wyatt Lassiter, the designated hitter, the first man up in this inning. Boonville trailing by 5, just trying to get something going in this one. Lassiter hits this one deep to center field. Ranging back on it is Panapinto, and he can't make the catch. That one hits off the bottom of the wall. Lassiter hustles to second, and he's in there with a leadoff stand-up double. A much-needed hit for the Lumberjacks to start off this inning and get something going. That brings up the third man in this order, Marcus Smith. Smith so far has walked and struck out in this one. The redshirt junior out of the University of Memphis takes that one for a called strike on the first pitch. Smith took the JUCO route like a lot of players on this team. McLennan Community College transfer back to the University of Memphis, where he only got 9 ABs last year as he takes strike 2. And now looking to reset here this summer in Boonville. Quickly down 0-2 in this one, looking to get something going. Lassiter to the runner on second, no outs in this bottom of the 5th inning. Takes that one inside for a ball, 1-2 the count. Smith last game had 2 at-bats, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout. Here's the 1-2. And that one in there for a called third strike. The off-speed dropped in there, and Smith, dejected, walks back to the dugout. That brings up the right fielder, Bronx Lewis. It's still Colin Richardson out there for the Dragons in this top of the 5th. Out there for his 5th inning of work. That's his 4th strikeout so far in this one. Bronx Lewis swings through that one on the first pitch, down 0-1 quickly. Lewis, the senior, just graduated college out of Concordia University. Stands in from the left side. Here's the pitch. That one way out. The catcher fails, had to stand up to grab that one, and that one way outside. 1-1 the count. Here's the 1-1. Just misses up top. 2-1 the count. Talked to Lewis before the game. He told us that didn't intend to play baseball as a living. Had plans to go down and work after he graduated college, but had such a monster year at Concordia University that he decided to give things a shot. Here's the 2-1. In there for a called strike. 2-2 the count. Batted .342 with a .496 OBP, nearly 500, and an .826 slugging percentage as well. Just a monster year from the Iowa native. Here's the 2-2. Runner goes from second. That one in the dirt. Lassiter is in there safe. And the fans can't believe it here. They thought Kerr made an excellent tag behind the back, but ultimately Lassiter with his 3rd stolen base of the day. He's been on fire. He manufactured a run in the top of the 3rd inning, stealing 2 and scoring on a wild pitch, and he's found himself on 3rd here off of the double already. That one missed outside on Lewis. It's a full count now on the lefty. Here's the payoff pitch. Swings and fouls that one back, but the catcher fails, couldn't handle it. What would have been a foul tip strikeout is just a foul ball, and the count remains full. Just 1 out with the runner on 3rd. 9-4 here, the score in the top of the 5th inning. 1 out, runner Lassiter is on 3rd. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the senior. Swings and skies this one up in the infield. Under it is the shortstop McClop, and he makes the catch. So Lewis pops out for out number 2. That brings up the extra hitter, Masai Marshall. Marshall so far here today with a single and a triple. He's been on base every time he's been at the plate. Only played 2 games as the umpire calls time on that one. Just 2 games played. He had a hit in his first game with the Lumberjacks in that win against Saugerties. And 2 more here today. First offering is taken outside. The curveball couldn't find the zone. 1-0 the count. Just 1 strikeout as well from the sophomore. Looking for his next home after being at Northwestern University. Here's the 0-1. Swings and fouls this one over the Dragons dugout. 1-1 the count. Marshall stands in from the right side, 6'3", 195 pounds. Swings and misses on the 1-1. The slider got him. 1-2 the count now. Marshall in danger of leaving Lassiter stranded on third. That can't happen for this Boonville team. 5 hits, just 4 runs so far in this one. Takes that one outside, and nope. It clipped the outside part of the zone. Marshall's in disbelief on that one. Goes back to talk to the umpire, and he's got to be careful here. Strict no umpire conversation allowed in the PGCBL, but he walks towards the dugout. Ultimately a strikeout looking to end the inning, and Boonville leaves a runner stranded at third. It's still 9-4 on the Boonville Radio Network. Boonville still trail by 5 runs here. It's the bottom of the 5th inning in Glens Falls. First batter up is Rene Vega, the second baseman here today for the Dragons. Hit a double, walked, and struck out so far today as he gets ready to step in from the left side. New pitcher on the mound as well for the Lumberjacks. It's Colin Glenn, the right-handed arm from Kansas Wesleyan University. He's an uncommitted JUCO sophomore. As that one misses outside for ball 1. So far this summer, Colin Glenn hasn't had the best of summers. 4 games played that he's pitched in with a 30 ERA and a 4.0 whip. 11 runs, 10 of them earned. As that one misses up high, Bischoff can't make the catch as the count moves to 2-0. He's allowed 3 hits, 9 walks as well, and 3 strikeouts. Has not been his best year today, or this year. Here's the 0-2. Or the 2-0, excuse me. Misses outside and quickly 3-0. Some listeners will remember his start against Utica, where he threw 12 straight balls to start the game. Ended up giving up a lot of runs in those first couple innings and never really recovered from that one. His last appearance was also in Utica, as that one down in the dirt. A 4-pitch walk to Vega, and that brings up the left fielder Caden Barner. Leads the team in walks so far this year. That's his 10th. And already a defensive meeting between the shortstop Negron and the catcher Bischoff, along with Colin Glenn at the mound. We've seen that a lot. It's been a pretty short leash for Glenn so far. And with that quick 4-pitch walk, just talking things over. We know head coach Christian Griffin has a lot of faith in this guy. He knows he can get better, but it's just going to be a process of trying to get him game time and see what he can do. Barmer takes ball 1. The runner Vega faked running to second and stealing a base, but ultimately goes back. That pitch was in there for a strike as well, 0-1 the count. Barmer so far today has singled and walked twice, looking to get on base for the 4th time today. There's the 0-1 delivery. Just outside, 1-1 the count. Barmer out of Goldie Beacom, the D2 school, and he's out of Edgewood, Maryland. Here's the 1-1 delivery from Colin Glenn. Runner fakes going from first yet again. Seth Bischoff doesn't even get out of his stance for that one as the pitch misses outside. 2-1 the count. Barmer leads the team in games played with 11, a trusted freshman bat, and he's produced so far today. Runner fake, swing and a miss there from Barmer. Glenn got the fastball by him, and Barmer all even now, 2-2 the count. Colin Glenn started 5 games this last collegiate season for Kansas Wesleyan. Failed to win in any of them. 2-2 pitch is just up high. Count runs full. Does have 2 innings of college experience under his belt, however. Glenn checks back on the runner Vega over at first before readying and firing. That one inside on Barmer, and another walk there. 2 straight for Colin Glenn. No movement from head coach Christian Griffin, but we've seen a couple appearances so far this year where 2 walks was the limit for Glenn. Glenn had 1 appearance against Utica where he came in, walked 1 batter, hit the other by pitch, and was pulled from the game, but a bit of a longer leash here today. First pitch by Worth is swung on and hit into foul territory, ranging over but not making the catch is Lewis. That one a little too far over. Worth so far today has singled, walked, and flew out into a double play to end the bottom of the 3rd inning. That one a diving, stretching play by Marcus Smith. Doubled up the runner over at 3rd, who failed to tag and score on that one. Glenn ahead 0-1 in this one. Here's the delivery. Just misses inside. The Boonville fielders thought that one was a strike, and Christian Griffin yelling at the umpire as well. 1-1 the count regardless. Tyler Worth, the big righty, 6'1" from the right side. Swings this one by Glenn. That gets past the 3rd baseman Swingham. 1 run scores. Vega rounds 3rd. And the runner Barmer stops at third. It's a stand-up double by Tyler Worth, and the Dragons extend the lead. It's 10-4 here in the bottom of the 5th inning. So the first hit allowed by Glenn. It's a defensive meeting with his catcher Bischoff, but a short-lived one. Christian Griffin tells him to get his mind right and keep pushing through. This brings up the extra hitter David York, however. York stands in from the right side. First offering from Colin Glenn is outside. Slider missed in the dirt. 1-0 the count. York had a monster game last night against Utica. 5 at-bats. He had 2 hits, both of them homers, including 6 RBIs with just 1 strikeout. Takes the 1-0 outside. Count moves to 2-0. Funny enough, those are the only extra base hits of York's PGCBL summer so far. Of course, both of them leading to that win over Utica. Crucial clutch ones, including some in the 9th inning. Swings and misses on that one, was way out in front of it. Colin Glenn gets his first strike in the at-bat, moves to 2-1. So far today, York has flown out to first base. He fouled out in the 1st inning, struck out, and then singled. Not so productive from the extra hitter so far. Calls time and waits on this one. Started off the season hitless in his first 3 games, but in the last 4 has piled up 3 hits. A little bit better, including one in this one. Swings and hits this one to left. Coming in on it is Reed, who makes a diving catch, but the runner tags from third. Negron picks up the ball at third, but the runner, Barmer, had already gotten there. Worth stays over at second, and it's a sacrifice fly that extends the lead to 11-4 here in the bottom of the 5th. That brings up the third baseman, Alex Kerr. So far today, Kerr has walked and singled twice. First pitch from Glenn is swung on and fouled back and out of play towards the stands over there behind the Glens Falls dugout. Thank you. 0-1 Glenn ahead on this one. Kerr has only played in 4 games so far this year, but has made the most of them. 500 average in those games. 0-1 is taken inside for a strike, and Glenn quickly ahead 0-2. Four hits in his 8 at-bats so far this year. One of them a double. Added 2 more here today. 0-2 is outside. Slider missed his spot. Count moves to 1-2. Kerr flew into a double play in his first at-bat. Then would go on to walk and single. The runner Worth shots back and forth from second, but time called. Colin Glenn still delivers a pitch that was right down the middle, but they ground Alex Kerr the time. So that one doesn't count. Count remains at 1-2. Already 1 run scored so far tonight by Kerr. Was stranded at third after his single in the 4th inning. Here's the 1-2. Swung on and hit to center field. Going back on it is Smith and making the catch. The runner Worth does not go anywhere from second base, and a deep, deep fly out is out number 2. That brings up the catcher Hunter Fowles. That one was about 10 feet from leaving the yard. That one took Smith all the way to the warning track. But regardless, 2 outs for Colin Glenn, trying to limit the damage to just 2 runs, but the runner Tyler Worth still on second base. Hunter Fowles stands in and awaits the first pitch from Glenn. He takes it. It's in the dirt. Off speed was not in there. Fowles so far today singled twice and then walked in his first plate appearance in the third. Looking to get on base for the 4th time here tonight. Here's the 1-0 from Colin Glenn. This one hit right to the shortstop Negron. He throws over to first, and it's in time, squeezed by the first baseman Farber, and that ends the inning for Colin Glenn. Walks over to the dugout, not happy with his performance after he surrenders 2, but keeps the Lumberjacks alive in this one. 11-4 the score. We head to the top of the 6th. Back here in Glens Falls, Lumberjacks trying to get back into this one. It's 11-4. The Dragons on top here in the top of the 6th inning. The batter is Ian Farber, who fouls off the first offering, quickly goes down 0-1. Farber so far today flew out to center and walked in his only 2 plate appearances. Swings and misses on that one, throws the bat over to the Dragons dugout. He lost the handle on that one. And good thing for the netting, or that could have been some trouble. Farber goes back to collect his bat. The big lefty, 6'5", steps into the left-handed batter's box, hoping to keep a handle on this one. He's down 0-2, however. Here's the pitch, and that one just misses outside. Everyone in here thought that one was a strike, but the count 1-2. It's still Colin Richards out there for the Dragons. He's had 5 innings pitched so far and back out for his 6th, as this one fouled back behind the plate by Farber. The Dragons had a man warming up in the bullpen earlier in this game. That was all the way back in the 3rd inning, but has not had to use him yet. Richards has been effective. This is only Farber's 3rd at-bat here, and we're all the way in the top of the 6th inning. Richardson needs a ball exchange on that one. Count still 1-2. Gets a new baseball, some more from the dugout, and gets ready to face Farber. Farber's only had 16 at-bats so far this year, as that curveball way outside from Richardson. 2-2 the count. .125 average in those at-bats as that curveball misses again, and he works the count full. Richardson needs another baseball exchange as he throws it back to his catcher, who gives him a new one. Farber, just a freshman, playing here in the PGCBL out of the Division III JUCO Niagara County. As that payoff pitch is squarely in there for a called third strike. That fastball was right down the middle. Farber makes his case that that was down low, but falls on deaf ears as that brings up the shortstop Elijah Negron. That's Richardson's 6th strikeout of the day. He's been racking them up 1 an inning here tonight as Negron steps out. So far, a single and a flyout for Negron as the opening pitch is just outside. Breaking ball missed. 1-0 the count. Just one hit would be considered slow for Negron's standards, especially in this last week. Is that one in there for a called strike? 1-1 the count. In the last week, he's had 10 at-bats, 5 hits, 4 of them for extra bases, as he swings and misses on that one. 1-2 the count. 3 were home runs, 7 RBIs, and 4 walks for the A-Town Bats hitter of the week. First in that category. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss there from Negron. Richardson screams as he gets that strikeout. He's pumped up here in the top of the 6th inning, and that's 2 outs. That brings up the second baseman, Davon Abaga. Strikeout number 7, his 2nd of the inning. And Richardson making his team save some arms. First pitch is down low. 1-0 the count on Abaga. So far today, Abaga's grounded and flown out. 1-0 pitch is just outside. 2-0 the count. Even in a game like this where the Lumberjacks are 7 runs down, the dugout remains loud at all points in the game as the 2-0 pitch is missed again. Curveball topped the zone and the count moves to 3-0. Can always hear 3 or 4 voices screaming from the dugout, always cheering on their teammates. Here's the 3-0. And Abaga draws a 4-pitch walk. That one was inside. And the Boonville Lumberjacks have a base runner here in the top of the 6th inning. That brings up the left fielder, Noah Reed. Just the 4th walk of the night for Richardson. It's a meeting now with his catcher, Fales. Lots of pitches being thrown by him already. They just want to make sure the game plan is straight. Here against Noah Reed, who's popped out and singled. He struggled with the strikeouts so far this year. 8 strikeouts, tied for the most on the team, but hasn't been set down that way yet tonight as he takes strike 1 on the first offering. He struck out in every game he's played so far this year, most of them with multiple strikeouts. As the pick back on the runner, not in time. Abaga dives back in there head first. Reed's kept it clean here tonight as another check back on the runner, Abaga not in time. Richardson's been doing a lot of that so far here. Very concerned about being stolen on, but it's only been Wyatt Lassiter who's grabbed 3 bags already on Richardson tonight. 0-1 is in there. Curveball dropped in there for a strike on Reed, and he's quickly down to his last strike here. Lumberjacks desperately need to get something going here. It's 11-4 here in the top of the 6th inning. Here's the 0-2. Runner goes, and this one hit into right field. Abaga was going on that one, so he'll end up at third. And it's a 2-out single for Noah Reed, his 2nd of the day. That brings up the last man in this order and the catcher, Seth Bischoff. Abaga goes first to third on that single. It was a shallow roller that Barthel picked up pretty quickly, but Abaga's got a lot of speed over there, and quickly runners on the corners with 2 outs. It brings up Bischoff, who has singled and grounded out so far today. Bischoff has had hits in 4 of his 5 games so far that he's played in this year, as that one in the dirt, almost through the catcher Fale's legs, but he saves it. 1-0 the count. Bischoff with the baby blue bat, as well as the pearl white helmet, stands in. Runner goes from first. There is no throw to get Reed. The catcher fails, popped up as if he was going to throw, but I think he knew the double steal was on right there, as Reed is in there safe with his first stolen base of the year. Bischoff is all even in this one, though. 1-1 the count. Here's the pitch. In the dirt. 2-1. Runners on second and third. We've seen that a lot these past 2 games. The Lumberjacks trying to manufacture runs with the small ball, steals, bunts, sacrifices, and they're trying to do it here. Down 7 runs. They need some more. Here's the 2-1. Taken for a strike. Clips the outside part of the zone. The fastball was in there. And 2-2 the count now. Bischoff strikes out a little bit more than average. 7 Ks so far this year as he swings and fouls that one back. Absolutely sold out on that swing. Completely put everything he had into that one and was lucky to make contact. 2-2 on the freshman from Middleville, Michigan. Stays alive with that hack, but still has work to do. Here's the 2-2. Swings and hits this one right to the shortstop. McCough throws over to first and gets it in time, so that ends the inning for the Lumberjacks. They don't quite go down 1-2-3, but not enough to get any runs on the board, and they continue to be entrenched in a 7-run deficit. Lumberjacks on the mound on the other side of the break. We'll be right back on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. Colin Glenn back out on the mound for the Lumberjacks. This is his longest appearance so far this year. He hasn't made it into a second inning yet, other than his start against Utica, where he didn't record an out in that second inning of work. So if he gets the shortstop Tyler McKillop right here, that'll be his longest appearance on paper of the year. Of course, he'll still have himself beat batters faced-wise in that Utica game. McKillop takes ball 1, that one down low. Here's the 1-0. In the dirt yet again, 2-0 the count. McKillop has singled, doubled, and struck out so far today, all in 3 straight innings. The Dragons have been getting around the order and very little time at all. Here's the 2-0. Outside yet again, 3-0 the count. McKillop, in 10 games played so far this year, has a .308 average with a .438 on-base percentage. He leads the team with 8 RBIs this year, but no one on base for this one. Here's the 3-0, and way outside by Glenn. McKillop was taken all the way and draws the 4-pitch walk, so Colin Glenn starts with the man on. That brings up the right fielder, Billy Barthel. I'll remind you yet again that we are 2.5 hours from first pitch and just in the 6th inning here. This game is one of the longest of the year. Barthel down 1-0 in this one. Checks his swing, and that one in there for a strike. 1-1 the count. Defense behind Glenn talking signs of encouragement as this one hit to the third baseman, but that one going to get into left field. It's a single there from Barthel, and runners first and second. Still no outs here. That brings up the designated hitter, Jack Ploppert.
Now batting for the Dragons, number 7, the designated hitter, Jack Ploppert.
First pitch in there for a called strike. Ploppert so far today has struck out, walked, and hit a single. Still doing well in this one. Stands in from the right side. Here's the pitch. Down low in the dirt. 1-1, but the runners don't move. Colin Glenn talks a lot about visualization. That's his pregame ritual right there. Of course, with all the physical training that he does, but mentally, that's where he's got to get his game right to feel his best out on the mound. Here's the 1-1. That one way up high, head level for Ploppert, and 2-1 the count. Ploppert batting in the 10 hole hasn't been the most efficient hitter this year with just a 133 average in 15 at-bats, but already with a single and a walk here tonight. Here's the 2-1. Way outside again. 3-1 the count. Colin Glenn on the verge of his 4th walk already in this appearance. That's been the issue for him all year, but let's see if he can tame the beast. 3-1 the count. Here's the pitch. Inside, almost hits Ploppert, and he walks the bases loaded. So the 5th time the Dragons have had the bases loaded in 6 innings. The only time they didn't do it was last inning. And the lineup flips over yet again. Giorgino Panepinto steps in for his 5th at-bat of the day, and we're only in the 6th inning. First pitch. Hits him. Beans him right in the back, and Panepinto won't mind. That's an RBI hit by pitch for him. Colin Glenn surrenders another run. It's 12-4 here. And that's not what you're looking for right there if you're head coach Christian Griffin.
Now batting number 28, the second baseman, Rene Vega.
Still no movement from him. Couple arms up and warming in the bullpen, but no one throwing too hard. Colin Glenn just got to go out there and figure it out. That brings up the second baseman, Rene Vega. Up high for ball 1. We're quickly approaching the mercy rule here in Glens Falls. Not a topic you want to talk about, but it did happen just a couple days ago against Amsterdam on the road as the 1-0 misses outside. Bischoff has to stand up to grab that one. 2-0 the count. Of course, the mercy rule is 10 runs after 7 innings. We're rapidly approaching the 7th inning, and Glens falls on top by 8 runs. They just need 2 more with the bases loaded here to end this game. Vega stands in from the left side. Here's the 2-0 delivery from Glenn, and that one misses again. 3-0 the count. Vega so far today doubled, singled twice, and struck out looking. Asks the umpire for some help with that one. Called a ball, though, not sure what he was asking about. Here's the 3-0 delivery, and that one gets past the backstop Bischoff. That one was thrown about 7 feet high by Colin Glenn, and he walks in another run. It's 13-4 here, and Boonville quickly backed up against the wall. Colin Glenn struggling to hit the strike zone. That's been his Achilles heel all year. And this game quickly getting out of hand. Just 1 run away from the mercy rule. Boonville do have to bat here. It has to be 7 completed innings for the mercy rule to be put into play. So they will get 1 more opportunity to tighten things up. Colin Glenn still with the bases loaded, no outs. First pitch is in there on the left fielder, Caden Barmer. Of course, the mercy rule is something you'd like to avoid at all costs if you're Boonville, but would like to save more arms as they do have a game against Utica tomorrow at home. Second pitch is in there for a strike. 0-2 the count on Barmer. Barmer's been on base all 4 times that he's batted so far in this game with a single and 3 walks. Swings and hits this one into right field. That gets down for a single. 1 run scores. 2 will not get home as the throw in time to Bischoff, but the runner already home. If a tag had been applied, that might have been an out, but regardless, Ploppert scores, and that means Tyler Worth is up here. It's a 10-run lead for the Dragons, and Colin Glenn being left out there to pick up the pieces. First pitch is in the dirt, 1-0 the count. Worth so far today singled, walked, flew into a double play, and doubled. A little bit of everything from the 6'1", 215 first baseman. Takes that one outside, 2-0 the count. All the Dragons have to do in this top of the 7th to end the game is get 3 outs without surrendering a run. But still a lot of baseball left to be played. 3-0 the count now after that one misses on Worth, off speed in the dirt. And it's still bases loaded, no outs here in the top of the 7th. Here's the delivery from Glenn. In there for a called strike. 3-1 the count. Worth in his last game for Glens Falls had 5 at-bats, including an RBI and 1 strikeout as this delivery almost hits the batter Worth, but regardless, Colin Glenn walks in another run and head coach Christian Griffin takes the slow walk out to the mound. That might be the day for Colin Glenn as the Boonville dugout comes out to support their player, as we're going to have a call to the bullpen here. Claps here from the Dragons supporters in Glens Falls. Not what you want to hear if you're Christian Griffin and his squad. This one out of hand, 15-4 the score. It's a call to the bullpen. Michael Clarkson will be on the mound on the other side of the break. Back here in Glens Falls, call to the bullpen. It's a new lefty out on the mound. Spencer Biggerstaff out to face the next batter, David York, for the Dragons. First pitch is a foul tip, and therefore a strike. 0-1 the count. So won't be the longest appearance of Colin Glenn's season, as the 0-1 is swung on and missed right there by York. 0-2 the count. Only ultimately got through 1 inning of work. Final line for him was that 1 inning. Only surrendered 3 hits, but 6 walks for 4 earned runs. Swing and a miss on that one by York. And a 3-pitch strikeout right there by Spencer Biggerstaff is the first out of the inning. And that brings up the third baseman, Alex Kerr. A big first out there by Biggerstaff. The bases still loaded, of course. Time called by the umpire. So far today, Kerr has walked and singled as this one is hit into left field. That gets down. 2-run score as a runner rounds second but doesn't get in there. Cutoff man Swangam just picks it up in the infield as 2-run score on that single right there by Alex Kerr, his second single of the day. And the lead balloons to 13 runs. It's 17-4 here in the top of the 6th. That brings up the catcher, Hunter Fallis. Stands in from the right side. That one in the dirt. It gets by the catcher, Bischoff, and both runners advance. First to second and second to third. So now 2 ducks on the pond for the catcher. That was Barmer going to third and Worth going to second. Biggerstaff still has to find his way out of this one. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled back off of the catcher Bischoff. 1-1 the count. So far today, Fallis has singled twice as well as walked once. Looking for his 4th time on. 1-1 the count. Runners on second and third. Here's the pitch. In the dirt. Blocked by Bischoff. Rubs off the dirt from the ball and throws back to his pitcher, Biggerstaff. 2-1 the count now. Fallis so far this year with a 200 average in 10 at-bats. 2-1 is swung on and missed. That one in the dirt yet again, but this time a strike. 2-2 the count. Just 2 hits for the backstop so far this year. One of them a double. 4 RBIs and 1 walk. Here's the 2-2. Swung on and hit to where the shortstop should be, but Negron had shifted over. This scores 2 more runs as Fallis goes over to second base, but he is gunned down right there, but called safe. They say Abaga did not apply the tag in time, and Fallis is in there standing with a double. And everything is really unraveling now. It's 19-4. Boonville down 15 runs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Biggerstaff just has to figure stuff out there. As now his own runs starting to come in. A couple of those were Colin Glenn's responsibility, but now dipping into his own pool. That one almost hits the batter, McKillop. He has to duck out of the way. 1-0 the count. McKillop already walked in this inning. He was the leadoff man as this one hit down the first base line, but foul. Count moves to 1-1. Outside of his walk in this inning, he's singled, doubled, and struck out. On par with his .308 average so far this year. He slowly walks back to first base and no apparent rush at all. Picks up the bat and gets ready to do it again from the right side. 1-1 the count here. Runner on second is Falles, and 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's the pitch from Biggerstaff. That one very inside. Ball 2. McKillop only has 8 hits so far, but 3 of them for extra bases. One of the premier power hitters in this lineup, as that one inside as well. 3-1 the count. Also leads the team in RBIs with 8. Not really surprising with all of the extra base hits he puts up. Here's the 3-1. Inside yet again, and a 5-pitch walk right there to McKillop. The inning just keeps going for the Lumberjacks, and it's Billy Barthel back at the plate. This one hit up high and down the first base line. Farber makes the catch in foul territory for out number 2. Barthel set down in 1 pitch and gets a loud ovation from his dugout. That brings up the 10-hole hitter, Jack Ploppert. Ploppert already walked in this inning. Had 1 previous walk this game, as well as a single with 1 strikeout. Here's the first pitch from the big lefty Biggerstaff. Inside, ball 1. Ploppert batting .133 so far this season with a .350 on-base percentage. He likes to draw the walk with 5 of them, as well as 2 in this game. Checks his swing on that one, but doesn't go. That's in the dirt, and the count moves to 2-0. He would take the team lead if he walks here. This would be his 8th. Here's the 2-0. Inside yet again. That one almost hits Ploppert, and he has to move out of the way. 3-0 the count. 3 outs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2 runners on. 2 outs. Here's the pitch. That one finally in there for a strike. 3-1 the count. Biggerstaff just trying to get out of this inning at this point. The Lumberjacks would need 6 runs actually to avoid a mercy rule, as he walks Ploppert on 5 pitches, so the bases are loaded once again. The order flips over, and it's Giorgino Panepinto. Panepinto was hit by pitch by Colin Glenn for an RBI already in this inning. He walked 2 other times, reached on an error, and flew out in this game. Here's the 0-0. In there for a called strike. Panepinto out of Iona University, the Division I school. That's why he's batting in the leadoff. Here's the pitch. Down low in the dirt. 1-1 the count. Came into this game with his only 2 RBIs this season, coming in his last 2 games that he played in, as this 1-1 hits him yet again. So for the 2nd time in an inning, Giorgino Panepinto is hit by a pitch and a run scores. This one is number 20 for the Dragons. It's 20-4 here. Rene Vega, the second baseman, the next batter at the plate. Already walked in this inning, as well as walking 2 other times in this game. Double and a strikeout. The 6th time at the plate for this lineup, and this is the 6th inning. Here's the 1-0. Swung on and hit into left field. Coming in on it is Reed, and he makes the catch. It was diving. Didn't look like it was necessary, but the important thing is the inning is over. Boonville drops 7 runs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. They go to the top of the 7th, and they'll need 7 runs to avoid the mercy rule. We'll have that for you right here on the Lumberjacks Radio Network after this. Back here in the top of the 7th inning, what could be the last one in this game. It's a new arm on the mound for the first time tonight. The Glens Falls Dragons finally go to the bullpen, and the man they choose is Kyle Fives. First pitch on Swangam is outside. Fives, the left-handed pitcher, with a 4.91 ERA and 7 1/3 innings pitched so far this year. Next delivery is outside for a ball. 2.18 whip. He does let a lot of runners on base, and Boonville have to capitalize. If they go down without scoring 7 runs, the game will be over due to the mercy rule, as that curveball popped up way above the zone. 2-0 the count. Should be 3-0. It's listed 2-0 on the scoreboard. Swangam so far today struck out twice and flew out to center, as that one in there for strike one. 3-1 the count. Crazy thing is, for the Lumberjacks, this is their 4th time around the order with the leadoff guy, as Swangam takes outside for ball 4, gets a free pass and gets on base. That brings up the designated hitter Wyatt Lassiter. So only the 4th time around in this order for the Lumberjacks. It was the 6th time around for the Dragons in the bottom of last inning. First delivery on Lassiter is in there for a called strike. So far today, Lassiter's doubled, reached on a fielder's choice, and grounded out to third. Here's the 0-1 delivery on the designated hitter. Swings and hits this one down the third baseline, but foul. Was way out in front of that changeup right there, and the count moves to 0-2. Lassiter's been one of the better hitters in this Boonville lineup so far this year. .316 average, but hasn't played too much. Just 19 at-bats for the freshman. That one down low in the dirt, 1-2 the count. Coming into the day, and still with just 1 strikeout, very, very patient hitter at the plate. And he's been left struggling for playing time with a very crowded outfield room. Takes on that one, 2-2 the count. The addition of new names like Marcus Smith and Masai Marshall during the last couple weeks have left some out, like Wyatt Lassiter and Harrison Haig, who haven't been playing as much. Even Will Hill taking a seat tonight for Bronx Lewis. 2-2 is way outside, and the count runs full. He slams his bat into the dirt in frustration as Lassiter wants a pitch to hit. Here's the payoff pitch, and that one way up high. Lassiter flips the bat behind his head, almost hits the catcher and the umpire, splits the pair. He taps his chest in apology, but runners on first and second here in the top of the 7th. Lassiter clearly wanted a pitch to hit right there, but was not given one. That brings up the center fielder, Marcus Smith. First offering on him is way up high, ball 1. Smith so far tonight has walked and struck out twice. Here's the 1-0. Takes that one. The catcher Fallas fakes a back pick to first, but does not throw. Smith has struck out in every game he's played this summer, which isn't saying much considering he's only played 3. But his .75 K to walk ratio is much better than his .32 that it was during this last collegiate season, as he takes strike 1 right there. 2-1 the count. Smith hasn't had a homer a hit since his homer in the first game he played this season, all the way back on June 9th. Also has failed to get an RBI since then, as that curveball way up high. 3-1 the count. And Fives out there on the mound has been struggling to hit the zone, to say the least. Here's the 3-1. Swings and hits this one high into foul territory. The first baseman, Worth, is over there and can't make the catch. Tried to reach the glove over the fencing into the bullpen, but ultimately couldn't make anything happen with that one. Count runs full now. Smith in his last game walked twice and struck out once. Payoff pitch. Swung on and hit into right center field. Ranging back on it is Barthel, looking up and making the catch on the warning track. The runner from second tag, Swangam, is into third, and Lassiter has to go back to first. That one was hit a long way. I think with a metal bat, that one was probably gone, and Barthel had to make a running catch on the warning track. So that's the first out of the inning. Fives gets it in an inefficient way, but that brings up the right fielder, Bronx Lewis. Takes that one, 4-1. Lewis so far today has walked, singled, and flew out to the shortstop in shallow left field. Here's the 1-0. That one way up high almost hits Lewis, and he has to duck out of the way. The catcher, Fallis, fires it right back at Fives, who wasn't expecting it, and has to ready for another delivery. Runners still on the corners. One out here in the top of the 7th. That one finally in there on Bronx. 2-1 the count. 20 runs, by far the most that Boonville have surrendered so far this year. They had 18 in a game against Utica, but that was at least a close one. Final score was 18-16. Runner Lassiter goes from first. There will be no throw from the catcher Fallis, and Lassiter's in there with his 4th stolen base of the day. Speed demon on the base paths, but unfortunately only 5 hits on the Boonville side. No one's been there to hit him in. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed by Lewis. Count runs full. Lewis ran into the fence earlier this year at Hanson Aggregates Field. As the payoff pitch is swung on and missed, he struck him out, and Boonville are down to their final out of the game. Ultimately returned to the lineup just a couple days later, as this brings up the extra hitter, Masai Marshall. Marshall started the game off with a single and a triple, struck out looking his last time up, and could be the final out in this game. 20-4 the score here in the top of the 7th. It will be over unless Boonville does something. First pitch is a sword right there. Marshall couldn't decide whether to swing or not, and he's down 0-1. Marshall's been a great hitter here in the PGCBL this summer, but unfortunately no RBIs to show for it with not a lot of runners on. Fouls that one to the backstop, 0-2 the count. And Boonville are staring down the barrel here. Not a lot of fans left in this ballpark as we are over 3 hours from first pitch. Only in the 7th inning, the top of the 7th inning. But this game still might be over. Here's the 0-2 from Fives, way outside. 1-2 the count. We thank you for sticking with us here through all the baseball. Hasn't been the most thrilling game tonight, but there are better days ahead for the Lumberjacks. Time called by Masai Marshall here. He wants to think things over. Lassiter goes back to second. Zeb Swangam still over there at third. Marshall out of Northwestern University. We know he's a guy who can change this game with the swing of the bat. Here's the 1-2. Taken down low. Certainly could have been called a strike, but I think that would have been an umpire wants to go home kind of call. 2-2 the count, 2 outs, runners on second and third here in the top of the 7th inning. Boonville down 16 runs. Here's the pitch. Swung on and hit to the shortstop. McKilloff throws over to first and in time, and the game is over. Ian Farber slams his bat and helmet in frustration. He wanted another AB in this one, but ultimately this game over in the top of the 7th inning. 20-4 the final score. Not the best display by the Lumberjacks here on the road. Lumberjacks could only muster 5 hits to the Dragons' 12. 3 errors on the defensive side by the Boonville Lumberjacks as well didn't help.
Winning 50-50 ticket number will get a total of $127 to the winner.
15 walks as well from the Lumberjack side. That means 27 total men allowed on base, and just not enough from either side of the ball. And the Lumberjacks out there running sprints in center field. Head coach Christian Griffin making them run from end line to end line. And we all hope here on the Boonville Radio Network that there will be better days of baseball ahead. We certainly believe there will be, as we know this team is better than this, but ultimately they're paying for their mistakes out there tonight. 20-4 your final here from Glens Falls. I'm Evan Simbita. I thank you for sticking with me here on this one. We will be back tomorrow. Hopefully a win for the Lumberjacks in that one. That will be a home broadcast. We will have the video for you here. That'll be against the Utica Blue Sox at 6:45 p.m. at Robert Smith Sports Complex. We hope to see some of you down there at the field, but if not, we'll have you covered right here on the Boonville Lumberjacks YouTube. That's it from Glens Falls tonight. 20-4 your final. The Boonville Lumberjacks dropped to 2-8 on the season. Just 10 games in and already struggling to fight for the playoffs. Just over 3 hours past first pitch. We say goodnight to you here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you for sticking with us here on the Lumberjacks Radio Network. I'm Evan Simbita signing off. Have a great rest of your night.